Hey, how's it going? This is Owen. I'm with the Slumber Yard, and in today's video, we're doing a overview / comparison of the new Copperflex mattresses from Brooklyn Bedding. These are pretty brand new over the last couple of months, and we've had the opportunity to test all 4 Copperflex mattresses. We'll talk more about that in this video. And the long story short is we really like these beds. They're very affordable. They're going to be solid for back pain. They are on the firm end of the spectrum, so side sleepers will probably want to look elsewhere, but for everybody else, I think these are going to be really worth your consideration. More information should be linked down below in the description if you want to check it out. There's a lot of info to help you out with your online mattress search. And if you find this video helpful or interesting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's just dive right in. All right, so instead of talking about all 4 of these Copperflex mattresses individually, we're kind of going to take them all at once and then talk about how they're different. But let's first do a brief overview of the policy info for Brooklyn Bedding. This will be the same no matter which Copperflex mattress you wind up going with. So these beds do ship for free inside of a box. Unboxing it's pretty quick and easy, not something I worry about. And they all come with a 120-night trial period. So you get a little bit over 4 months to sleep on the bed at home to determine if you like it or not. You decide that you don't within the trial period, you can return it. However, there will be a small $99 fee associated with returning a mattress, and that is just deducted from your refund. So it's a very small fee, but certain brands still offer free returns. In the past, they were all free returns, and it's becoming more and more popular to have some small return fee. If you decide to keep the bed though, which you probably will if you're doing all your research, you are looking at a standard 10-year warranty with all the beds from Copperflex. So a pretty standard set of policies. More info should be linked down below in the description. And let's just get into the Copperflex mattresses as a whole. Again, there are 4 of them. There is the base model Copperflex, and then the Copperflex Pro. And there's a foam version and a hybrid version of each. And fortunately for us, they're not all that different. Let's start with the construction of just the base model foam Copperflex. Now at the very bottom, you start with a short-ish layer of dense support foam. A lot of times on these beds, we will see a 6-inch thick layer of support foam. On the Copperflex, it appears to be about a 4-inch layer. There is a reason for this that I'll talk about here in a second. Above that layer of support foam, there is a layer of transition foam. This acts sort of as a buffer between the support foams and the comfort layers above. But then there is what I would call just another support layer sandwiched in between this transition layer and the comfort layers above. This is a lumbar support layer, and this bed does have a very prominent zone support design. That means when you lay down on it in your lumbar region in the center third of your body where you carry the majority of your weight, you will feel some extra support. A lot of brands do talk about zone support, and the vast majority of the time it is in fact true. We haven't seen a brand that says they have zone support and it's just not true. But a lot of times the feel of it is very subtle. But on Copperflex, they're really trying to make sure you feel that lumbar support, and I think this means this will be a nice option for someone who has back pain. Above this lumbar support layer, you have 2 different layers of memory foam. The topmost layer is actually copper infused, hence the name Copperflex. Then you have a nice quilted cover. On the hybrid version of the base model Copperflex, the construction is virtually identical, except instead of having dense support foam for support, it uses a layer of encased coils. We generally recommend people who are heavier, say 220 to 250 pounds and up, go with a hybrid version of a bed because it does provide you a bit more long-term support and durability. A foam bed is usually lighter, easier to move around, and has improved motion isolation, which is really nice for couples. That means if you want to use a light sleeper and your partner tosses and turns, you won't feel quite as much motion transferring through the mattress on a foam bed. Coil beds have gotten a lot better at this over the years, but they just can't quite compete with a foam bed, so there's a marginal difference there. Also, we did find that the hybrid version of both the base model Copperflex and the Copperflex Pro have slightly improved edge support. That means if you're sleeping on the outer perimeter of the bed because you're sharing a smaller size mattress, or you say you have pets that sleep with you, the edge is going to hold up a little bit better on the hybrid version, but again, this difference is marginal. And then let's talk about the construction of the Copperflex Pros. Again, there's not really a significant difference here. Again, there's going to be a foam model and a coil model. The differences between the hybrid and the foam model are going to be the exact same. Slightly better motion isolation on the foam model and slightly better edge support on the coil model with a bit more long-term support for heavier folks. The real key difference though, despite the Copperflex Pros just being a hair thicker, is that the Copperflex Pros come with a Glaciotex cooling cover. This cover is very cool to the touch, and it's quite similar to the cover that we see on the Brooklyn Bedding Aurora Luxe, which is one of our favorite cooling beds. So if you're a hot sleeper, the Copperflex Pros are probably going to be your better bet because of this cover. Let's move over to the subject of firmness, and this is where we really expected to see a big difference between the base model Copperflex and the Copperflex Pro, because normally when there's a more expensive variant of a mattress, it's usually thicker and a little bit softer. But in our testing process, we found both the base model Copperflex foam and hybrid to be virtually identical in firmness to the Copperflex Pros, both foam and hybrid. They're all 4 around a medium firm. I would say somewhere like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10, which means they're going to be a better option for strict back and stomach sleepers. If you are a side sleeper, you might be able to get by on it, but it's not something I would really recommend. I feel like if you sleep on this bed long term on your side, you might wind up with some hip and shoulder pain just because it doesn't provide quite enough pressure relief. The feel of all 4 of the Copperflex mattresses winds up being more of like a dense firm foam feel. They do use memory foam as their 2 main comfort layers, but because of the firmness profile of the mattresses, which I'll get into here in a second, you don't really sink into it all that much, and you really just feel the density of the memory foams without really much of the body conforming quality. I think fans of memory foam will enjoy the feel. Maybe if you really dislike memory foam, it's not really for you. Not really a responsive feel on these beds either. Definitely more in the memory foam category. I would just say firm and dense. Probably the most eye-catching thing about the Copperflex mattresses though are their price points. If we're just looking at the base model foam version, which is the most affordable, you're looking at only about $500 for a queen size, which I think is an absolute steal. This bed has some nice features, especially that lumbar support layer that you can really feel. And for only $500, that competes with beds from Allswell or beds from Amazon from a very reputable brand. Even the most expensive version of Copperflex, which is the Copperflex Pro and the hybrid model, is still only about $1,000 for a queen size after discount, which is still a very affordable price point that competes with the Brooklyn Bedding Signature. So very affordable beds from Brooklyn Bedding. They are known for making really high value beds, and I think the Copperflex mattresses really nail that part. And with all that out of the way, that leaves us with the question, who should consider picking up a Copperflex mattress for themselves, and which one should you go with? I think if you're looking for a firmer mattress and you really like the idea of having that lumbar support layer, maybe you have back pain, and you don't want to spend a lot of money for a new bed, hard to beat the Copperflex mattresses. I think for the vast majority of sleepers, going with the base model in either the foam or the hybrid version is more than adequate. Again, there's really not a whole lot of difference between the pros and the base models in our testing, aside from that cooling cover. The cooling cover is nice, but not everyone needs it. If you're a hot sleeper, it might be worth your while, but if you don't really have sleeping temperature issues, I would just go with the base model and save your money. But let us know what you think. Write us down in the comments. What do you think about these Copperflex beds? Let us know. And if you found this video helpful or interesting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. But that's going to do it for me. This is Owen with the Slumber Yard. I'll see you in the next one.